Finally a game that acknowledges that spiders are awesome. No longer relegated to just being creepy, crawly villains, they can take their rightful place as the champions of the insect management world. I, for one, bow to our new arachnid overlords with Spidex. Welcome to Mike's Gaming Gala. I'm Mike, and this week we're talking about Spidex for the Atari Jaguar by Phoboz. I got my copy from Good Deal Games. Spidex was a 2020 release and comes in a nice cardboard box with a professionally printed manual, insert, and this cool green numbered cartridge. Like my intro said, the spiders are the good guys here, and I'm excited, so let's have a look. After the splash screen, you get a menu that gives you the option of a 1 or 2 player game, as well as the ability to adjust your screen position. You can also view the high score table, and if you do, you'd be forgiven for thinking that it's going to be easy to blow the high score out of the water. After all, it's only 200 points. Let me say this right now. You're not going to. Pressing start on a 1-player game places your spider on a web where you have to shoot insects that appear. Shooting an insect wraps it in a web and you can pick it up to collect points. And those points are disappointing. Collect a fly, 1 point. Collect a mosquito, 1 point. Butterflies and swallows, hey, 2 points. Now yes, it goes up from there, capping out at a frog worth 127 points. But I'll be damned if I can get there. This is a very hard game, and the Jaguar controllers have a lot to do with that. In fact, let's take a look at the control schemes, because you have the choice of a few play modes and why it makes this game difficult. So, this is a Jaguar controller. There are many like it, but this one is mine. And I actually don't mind this controller. It feels okay when when playing games. So the standard way of playing is obviously you move your spider with the D-pad, and whichever direction you're facing, you press B, that'll shoot the web. Now, with a single controller, you can also use the number pad to shoot. But the number pad on the Jaguar controller is not in the most convenient position to be able to do this. So, although it's nice that they give you this control scheme, what you really want is 2 thumbsticks, like a modern controller, so that you can move your spider in one direction and shoot in another. Now, Phoboz has thought of this, and they actually have a dual controller play mode, which if you use the D-pad on the first player controller, that moves your spider, and if you use the D-pad on the second controller, that will shoot the web. Problem being, these controllers are huge. So even if Caleb Garner made a coupler for 2 Jaguar controllers, how the hell am I supposed to do this? I was trying to play it in any way I could to get the dual thumbstick, which it actually feels pretty good when you get it working, but just you can't play long because the size of the controller is just ridiculous for reaching over with your right hand to get this second D-pad. So what you really need to do, and hey, maybe somebody's already done this, is take a single Jaguar controller, redo the case so it's got 2 D-pads, maybe you can put the buttons up here or something, and then you could just play like this and you got 2 cables out, one that goes into 1 that goes into 2. I might try 3D printing something and seeing if I can do that, but this would be the absolute superior way to play. My scores would be a heck of a lot better, but unfortunately with the size of the controller, it's really nice that they included these 3 different control options, but it's hard to play. It's really hard to play when you want to play with two D-pads. So yeah, good on them for giving us as many control schemes as possible, but it can be a struggle. The spider is pretty touchy to control as well, and definitely takes getting used to. My first few times playing with the control scheme where you shoot with the B button, I rocketed headfirst into insects and died. Remember that high score of 20? Well, my first game I got a whopping 3 points at game over. Now, once you start to get the hang of how the game plays, you can get a bit further, As you progress through the stages, you'll encounter some insects that shoot back at you, which, rude. You'll also come across walls on the web that block your movement, and the absolute worst, the invincible bug. If you're taking too long in a stage, an egg will appear and begin to crack. This is straight up terrifying, because when it hatches, an invincible bug emerges and chases you around the web. The only way you can survive this monster is to shoot all the target insects and clear the wave before it gets to you. Easier said than done when things are already super chaotic. Honestly, 90% of the time when I see this guy enter the screen, I panic and it's game over pretty quickly. So while I did eventually make it onto the leaderboard with my top score of 30, I'd have to play Spidex a lot more to have any hope of threatening that score of 200 on the top. But I needed to feel superior somehow, so I got my 16-year-old to come and play 2-player with his old man. Let's have a peek at that. In 2-player mode, you can only play with single controller configurations for obvious reasons. That in itself makes the game a bit more difficult, but mercifully you can't shoot each other and you don't interfere with each other's movement. What can be tricky though, is that in the chaos it's easy to mistake your partner for an insect and waste precious time and attention trying to shoot something that you don't need to. I will admit though, it was fun watching him experiencing the instant deaths and low scores that plagued me in my initial games. His response to those deaths was the same as mine, kind of a what the hell just happened reaction that made me laugh as he watched me go on after his death to achieve just a single point shy of my best with a 29. And that, my friends, is Spidex for the Atari Jaguar. So what did I think of it? Well, those who know their early 80s arcade games may have already noticed that this is a port of Black Widow, which was in the Robotron realm of twin-stick shooters. And as much as I love those kind of games, this port really suffers from the lack of a good way to play with 2 D-pads. The graphics are solid and it definitely captures that frantic energy that you seek from games like this, but I feel it falls short of how good it could be because of the controls. I also think that too much space was allocated on the side of the screen for the scores. A larger playfield would be welcome here, as it would mean that you could possibly escape running into the insects on your web a little easier. When all is said and done, it's certainly not a bad game. In fact, it's fun, but it's also frustrating to think of how much better it could be. If anyone knows of someone who makes a dual-stick Jaguar controller, let me know, because this game and others like it could really benefit from that, and I think it would be worth it. So Spidex gets a cautious recommendation from me. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I've got my contact information over there, and we'll see you next time on Mike's Gaming Gala.